Hey everybody, I'm making this video to show you the device that I've been working on recently. I've been calling it an X input to Y output shop. Essentially you can customize the number of inputs required and the number of outputs given anywhere from 1 to 320 very easily. It's very easy to change. I made it because I hadn't seen one yet and I wanted to see what was involved in making something that worked that way. Right now it's set to 11 input. I'm going to put in 10 so you can see what happens when there are too few. So that's the start button there, input hopper there, and output chest here. So you can see too few, spits them right back out at you. So when I put in the actual required 11, again it'll take a minute. Unfortunately, it's a bit slow. You have to let them all drain in before it'll recognize that you have enough. And we have the output. It's set to 17 output, I believe. Yep. Excellent. So, this is the device itself. It's a bit big, unfortunately. 8 wide by 8 deep by 9 tall if you count this bottom block here. It doesn't need to be this big for the core functionality, but I have a number of safety features built in. These are the input storage chests, so there's the 11 that we bought something with. When these chests both fill up and these hoppers both fill up, it has room for about 3 or 4 more stacks before it sends a signal up here, which switches these torches. That's what these are for, and when that's on, you cannot input any new items, so you can't make a purchase. There's also a safety feature. This is the output storage chest with all the diamonds in there. When there are too few of these, it does the exact same thing. It doesn't let you add any more. I can show that easily. It's about 4 stacks, I believe. Yep, that's on. So yeah, now that's on, which means that doesn't do anything. So let's see, I put 16 input there. Let's see how to customize the quantity. This hopper here is the input set, so let's make it 17 input. And we'll put these diamonds back so it'll operate correctly. So it's starting to eat up the 16. So again, I put in 1 less than is required. Right now it's comparing the input to the required input inside the heart of the circuitry. And once it checks them all, it spits them back out if they're not enough, or it gives you your reward if there are enough. So there's a 16 again. And to change the output, that's this hopper down here, 17 right now, let's make it into 22. So now let's put in the correct number of inputs. 17 inputs should give us 22 diamonds. Yeah, it has to go down that whole hopper chain there, unfortunately. It can certainly be optimized, but this is just a little rough draft. So there's our output, and we have 22. So you can see it's very easy to change the required quantity and the given quantity. Further safety feature is this piston here. When you've pressed the input button, that's what this little line is here, this RS NOR turns on. What that does is it turns off these torches, which allows the the input set to start draining into another hopper underneath that blue wool, and this is where your input is stored, so it also starts draining. But it sends that charge down to this block, which then retracts this piston, so while that's working, you cannot press the button again. So once these have, well, how it works is once the input set has drained, it sends a signal here, which turns this on, which resets this, so it turns this back off again, and it starts refilling. Then this green stuff is the basic logic of it checks if the input is greater than or equal to the required. So if this pulses before, essentially if this drains before this drains, then this piston will retract. You can see if I put in a block, that piston is out, and that piston allows a pulse from the input set. It allows the pulse to travel downward onto this RS NOR. This RS NOR sends its signal to that orange wool there. That's sort of the input diverter. When it's activated, it, instead of sending the input out into the output chest, it diverts it into the storage chest. And then once they've all been drained, this is where they're held while they're doing the calculations. Once they've all been drained out of this chest, it fires off on this brown circuit, which is connected to the reset for that RS NOR. So as soon as they're all through, it resets the diverter. When they go through the diverter, it sends a pulse. If I can get out here, it sends a pulse down to the output counter. So then that begins counting down, and as long as while that's counting, it sends the signal up here, through there, around there, and it unlocks. You can see the torch there. It unlocks the output and lets it feed through. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of clunky and convoluted. There's a lot of optimization to be done. I'm sure it can be shrunk. I'm sure there are, unnecessary features, things that could be doubled up to save space and time and all that. But for a rough draft, I don't think it's too bad. I think that's the gist of it. Yeah. So, thanks for watching.